This video will help you understand every swimming event. After you watch it, I guarantee you will enjoy watching swimming at the Olympics even more. I divided the video into 10 parts, each corresponding to the days of swimming in Paris 2024. At the end of the video, I'll tell you who will be the main swimmers to watch. People hate this world record. Even the swimmer who holds it isn't too happy about it. By the end of this video, you might hate it too. It's a good thing it might be going away soon. This is still the fastest time a human has ever swam the 400 meters. It has stood for more than 14 years, and every year that passes, people grow angrier and angrier. We get angry when we consider that technology was helping too much. The 400 freestyle world record is filled with these stories of technology helping too much, especially with this world record. It all started at NASA. They discovered a material that was buoyant, water repellent, and could be pasted on fabrics. Speedo saw this and said, "That's really cool, but I bet you can't do a spacesuit for swimmers." NASA thought about it and accepted the bet. They pasted chunks of this material into the full-body swimsuits, and they had a finished product just before the 2008 Olympics. As always, swimmers were fast at the Olympics, but this time they were flying. 98% of all the medals were by swimmers who wore the swimsuit, the laser. It was the fastest swimsuit, and the swimmers knew it. Many world records were broken, but not the 400 freestyle. That record from 2002 survived the 2008 Laser Olympics. Then, 1 year later, other companies got a hold of this material and said, "What if we make the entire swimsuit out of this stuff?" The result? All the swimming records were being demolished. The red line that represented the world record looked slow, and yet the 400 freestyle record remained intact. On July 26, 2009, we would witness something that would change swimming forever. The German swimmer, Paul Biedermann, was wearing a full tech suit. The suit made his body more compact, which improved his blood flow, more buoyant, which improved the body position, and more water repellent, which reduced friction. No one knows exactly by how much the supersuits helped. Even if it helped Paul by 1/100th of a second, this is all he needed to break the record. He touched the wall in 3:40.07. The only three people who have swum faster than these two are Sun Yang, Ian Thorpe, and Paul Biedermann. Many people see Sun, Ian, and Paul as the fastest 400 swimmers that ever lived, with the help of some kind of technology that is now illegal. This world record has become man versus machine.
But it is just so much sweeter beating America.
USA!
USA! And I've never wanted to punch someone more.
Whoa! Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitted for it, cause you all cap like.
The USA and Australia are the two countries with the most swimming medals. The first battle of this Cold War is the 400 freestyle. We have the current world record holder, defending world champion, and defending Olympic champion, Ariane Titmus, versus the queen of distance swimming, Katie Ledecky. We will see 6 of the top 10 best 400 swimmers in history in this event, and whoever wins this race will change the trajectory of the swim meet. If you want to learn about strategy, this is the event you want to watch. The 50 freestyle is too messy. In the 100 freestyle, it is much better, but there's still too much splash. There is more strategy and smoother techniques in the 200 free, but not quite enough pain. The 1500 and the 800 would be a great distance to watch, but people, usually Ledecky, wins by too much, and it becomes less exciting. The 400 freestyle is the perfect competitive showdown. It is painful, beautiful, and usually very exciting. The 400 world record has been held by some of the most revolutionary swimmers of the sport. For years, Ledecky went undefeated, not only in this race, but in the 800, 1500, and even the 200. Every time she dove into the water, she turned to gold. 5 years went by, and we didn't think anyone could catch her. The Australian coach, Dean Boxall, studied Katie and made a plan to break Katie mentally and physically during the race. Ariane went out faster than Katie, forcing her to push harder than usual. Then she laid back a little, causing Katie to gain confidence. She probably thought Ariane was out of the race, but that was all part of the plan.
But I remember I pushed off the wall and I could feel my legs and I could feel they were doing something. And I just got this boost and...
2 years later, Ariane did it again. Then, to top it all off, she broke Ledecky's world record. While we waited for Ledecky's comeback, the Canadian teenager, Summer McIntosh, broke Ariane's world record. Ariane got it back last year. That's where we are right now. If Katie wins, the USA has a real chance of winning the swimming medal table. If, on the other hand, Ariane wins, then the odds will be in the favor of the Aussies. Australia has the fastest female swimmers by far. It's always scary to swim against Australia, but in the women's 4x100 freestyle relay, it is game over. It's the relay where we see who has the fastest set of 4 swimmers in the world. They're so dominant, I'm sure they will hold back a little, and that's a smart move. I know the USA loves relays, and they always put up a good fight when the stakes are high. But the numbers don't add up. Out of the 12 best times in history of this 4x100 freestyle relay, 11 of them have been done by an Australian team. They own the world record by a lot. They have broken it 5 times. No other team has ever come close to this time. The closest was 5 years ago by the Americans, and it was more than 3 seconds slower. That's more than a body and a half length slower. Emma McKeon won 7 medals, 4 golds and 3 bronze at the last Olympic Games, setting a record for the most medals won by a female swimmer at a single Olympics. She's the second fastest swimmer in history of the 100 freestyle. Molly O'Callaghan is the 7th fastest swimmer in history. She was the 2023 world champion in the women's 100 and 200 freestyle individual events. She's the world record holder in the women's individual 200 freestyle. She won 5 gold medals last year and 1 silver. Bronte Campbell, Kate's sister, is the 8th fastest in history. Shayna Jack might not have an individual world record to her name or 7 medals at a single Olympic Games, but when these 4 set the world record in 2023, she was the fastest of the 4. She is the 9th fastest swimmer in history in the 100 freestyle. Meg Harris, standing at 1 meter and 80 centimeters, and with plenty of world championship experience, is part of the world record relay. The only thing that can stop them is if they false start. In other words, if one swimmer gets too excited and jumps before the swimmer in the water touches the wall, they're disqualified. A fast exchange is crucial in a relay as it can add up to more than a full second. But when you are going to win by more than 3 seconds, these exchanges are not so important. So I think they will play it safe and lose a little bit of time on purpose just to make sure they're not disqualified. That's how dominant this relay is. Australia and the USA, rivals as they are and as far as they are from each other, have a swim meet every other year to compete against each other. It makes both teams better. Trash talk might work in other sports, but if you trash talk in swimming, you're giving your opponents an advantage. And there's a simple psychological reason for that. Trash talk is a common psychological tactic used in various sports, serving to intimidate opponents, distract them from their plans, and to psych oneself up. This year, we will see the most exciting Olympic relay, the 4x100 freestyle. For the first time in history, we have 5 teams with a realistic shot of winning. This is the relay where the most trash talk has been used in the past. But this year, everyone is silent. And that is smart. Let me give you examples of trash talk and how they have backfired. In 2015, Chad Leclaus saw Michael Phelps winning and said, "Look, I don't want to say it's easy to swim by yourself, but it's a lot harder when you know Chad Leclerc is coming for you at the last 50 meters. A year later, even with a bad stroke finish, Michael Phelps won the 200 fly and Chad got fourth. In 2009, Cabbage, who broke Phelps' mark of 50.22, said, "I'm capable of swimming under 50, which would be enough to win the gold." The same year, Phelps won. Well, trash talk didn't work for Mark Horton either. Horton had problems with Sun Yang, and he said, "I ignored him. I don't have time or respect for drug cheats." That same year, Horton didn't want to get in the podium after Sun beat him. It doesn't even work when the media trash talks. James the Missile Magnuson is not going to be beaten in the 100-meter freestyle. A few days later, this happens. Adrian won. If you think about it, it makes sense that it works in other sports, but not in swimming. Most of the trash talk in swimming comes during the relays, and there's a good psychological reason for that. This works in sports where you have a game plan, but the best swimmers are the ones who know when to shut their intrusive thoughts. No game plan, just instinct. They just need one simple reason to win and let the body do the rest. During the relays, trash talk is used to hype your teammates up, but when the rival finds out, it backfires. If you give your rivals a strong enough reason to win, they will. The classic example is when Gary Hall Jr. said a long quote with a little bit of trash talk: "We are going to smash them like guitars." But the guitars triumphed. Then, in 2008, there was talk about smashing again, but this time it came from the French team. The Americans used it as fuel to win a very important relay. Like Dressel said, trash talk among friends can benefit both. But trash talk against rivals can benefit the rivals if they find out. Michael Phelps has been erased from the swimming world records. The way he was erased doesn't make sense to me, but Michael seems very happy about it. The last individual world record Michael had was the 400 individual medley. This is where we find out who is the best swimmer in the planet. It is 100 meters of each stroke. At the height of his career, he held 5 individual world records: the 200 freestyle, 100 butterfly, 200 IM, and the 4 IM. Each one of these world records was broken by incredible swimmers. Up until 2023, one of them remained the most difficult one, the 400 IM, and we were okay with that. No one was crazy enough to think they could break this world record. No one thought they could swim every style of swimming faster than the best swimmer that ever was. But Michael Phelps' coach, Bob Bowman, knew something none of us did. There was a time in the 1960s where breaking 5 minutes in the 4 IM seemed impossible. This might not seem impressive today, but remember that they weren't even wearing goggles or caps. Not to mention, they didn't have the S&T swimming method on YouTube. Michael Phelps was the first one to go faster than 4:10. He would break this world record 8 times, more than anyone in history. He would take it down from 4:11 down to 4:03. That was at the Olympics with the famous laser supersuits. Michael Phelps became the longest lasting world record holder in the history of swimming. On July 23 of 2023, Leon pointed and aimed at the untouchable world record. He started at the same speed as Phelps, even a little slower in the first 50. Then he managed to catch up on the next 50. He was ahead, but not by much. At the 150 mark, he remained ahead, just barely. At this point, I am thinking, if you're not faster than Phelps in freestyle, you better be way faster than him in breaststroke. Leon finished backstroke a little slower than Phelps. He goes 1 second faster than Phelps on the first 50 of breaststroke. Then he does something incredible. This is usually the most painful part of the race. It is the point at which the legs are begging for help. The heart and the lungs are pumping blood and exchanging oxygen for CO2 as fast as they can. So I thought maybe another second is enough to get Leon enough advantage. But no, he goes 2 full seconds faster than the world record split, giving him a 3-second lead. The world record is right there, catching him with every freestyle stroke. But the lead was too much. Leon smashes the world record by 1 second and 38 100ths. enough for Michael Phelps to be amazed. 4:02.50. I don't think anyone else can get close to that. Anyone but the amazing Léon Marchand this year at the Olympics. Do you think he can break the 4-minute barrier? It seems impossible until you remember that we used to think 5 minutes was impossible, and now people like Brent Foster are swimming faster than that on their late 50s. Maggie McNeil swims underwater without moving her arms faster than her competitors above the water. They are moving their arms as fast as they can. She is the underwater queen. In this race, she is 7th after she touches the wall. Then she goes underwater and stays longer than everyone because she knows it's faster. When she finally comes up, she passed 3 swimmers and is very close to the first 2. Her competitors have done more strokes, but by staying underwater, she saved crucial arm energy to have a strong finish. I think she's the best female underwater swimmer in the world, followed closely by Tori Husk. But Maggie has an advantage that sets her apart even from Tori. You might be asking right now, why doesn't everyone stay longer underwater? Isn't that illegal or something? First of all, not everyone can swim underwater like her. It requires a special kind of training. Second, it is illegal to swim underwater too much. In the 1950s, people didn't believe that swimming underwater was faster than above the water. That was until someone proved it. Sometimes experience is ahead of knowledge. In swimming, it often is. People didn't even study underwater swimming as a way to move faster until someone tried it. At the 1956 Olympics, Masaru Furukawa of Japan swam the first 3 lengths of the 200 breaststroke, going 45 meters underwater and then coming up just to turn. On the last length, he could only go 25 meters underwater, and he had to swim breaststroke for the last 25 meters, winning by a body length. Other swimmers began to copy Fukawa's technique, but in response to a high number of swimmers passing out, FINA changed the rules of breaststroke to allow for only a single underwater pool and kick off the starts and turns. Puerto Rican Jesse Vasallo used to play underwater a lot when he was a kid. He developed an intuition for his body in the water. This is what we call thinking with your body. It's the 3rd pillar of our swimming method. He was so good at moving through the water that he developed a technique of pushing off the wall and doing underwater dolphin kicks. He says he did this to avoid crashing into his rivals' waves. Vasallo used this technique to break the 400 individual medley. Unfortunately, because he was Puerto Rican swimming in the USA, the Puerto Rican government didn't allow him to go to the Olympics. Vasallo traveled with the American team to compete all over the world. He traveled to Japan, and finally, one swimmer paid close attention to this technique. Daichi Suzuki copied Vasallo's technique, but took it even further. He swam 25 meters underwater at the Olympics, but he was young and hadn't perfected the technique yet. He didn't manage to make it to the finals. At this point, if I was him, I would have said, okay, I tried it, but it doesn't work. But Suzuki was somehow convinced this was the way. So some people noticed, especially David Berkoff and his Harvard coach. They used fluid dynamic experts to determine what was better, underwater dolphin kick or on the surface backstroke swim. The results were in. Underwater was faster. Berkoff started practicing it. One of the most iconic races happened at the Olympics, Suzuki versus Berkoff, swimming with dolphin kicks underwater for 35 meters. I think it was Suzuki's experience and grit that helped him win. And that year, FINA changed the rules. They said it was too dangerous, just as they did with Furukawa's technique in breaststroke. I think they also changed it because it is not as attractive for the spectators to watch just the surface of the water for more than half a race without knowing who is ahead. They also didn't have good underwater cameras back then. So, the current rule is you have a limit of 15 meters after each wall. Only the ones that have trained to do this can take the advantage of the underwater dolphin kick. If you want to see the best example of underwater dolphin kick, watch Maggie McNeil swim the 100 butterfly. Her kick is perfectly balanced. Most swimmers kick to the front faster than they kick back. Maggie outswims everyone underwater because she extends her hips as fast as she bends them. Her dolphin kicks are so symmetrical that she broke the world record for swimming face up and face down in the 100 butterfly and the 50 backstroke. She is facing the fastest 100 butterfly swimmers in history. 5 out of the fastest swimmers of this event will likely also swim in Paris 2024. Out of the 5, Zhang Jufei has been the most consistent swimmer under 56 seconds. If you made it this far and you're wondering why swimming underwater is faster, here it is. Underwater swimmers encounter less resistance because they avoid wave drag, which is created by waves on the surface. They also avoid swimming against the surface of the water, which imposes more resistance than the rest of the water below. Additionally, the underwater position allows swimmers to be more streamlined, minimizing frontal drag. It is the best way to carry the speed of the wall into the swim. It saves arm energy. As students of this sport, you need to understand the 5 pillars of swimming before you understand the smaller details. David Berkov's daughter, Catherine, qualified for the Olympics in the 100 backstroke. She is ranked 3rd. Gretchen Walsh recently broke the world record in the 100 butterfly at the US Olympic trials. The biggest cheaters in swimming are without a doubt breaststrokers, and I don't even think it's their fault. This year, the winner of the 100 breaststroke at the Olympic Games will probably also cheat a little bit. In 2012, Cameron van der Burg of South Africa, an Olympic gold medalist, admitted using illegal dolphin kicks in breaststroke. In this event, swimmers are allowed 1 dolphin kick after the start and turns, but van der Burg admitted to taking multiple kicks. We can see he took at least 3. Why is this a big deal? Well, it makes you swim faster. Masaru Furukawa's performance in 1954 is a prime example of these benefits. He swam most of the race underwater and broke the world record 4 times. 2 years later, at the 1956 Olympics, everyone copied him and swam underwater, but Furukawa won gold. Swimmers around the world wanted to swim like him, but it was too much and people were not prepared. They were fainting underwater. Swimming's governing body banned this technique, allowing only 1 stroke before the head broke the surface. The head had to be above the surface at all times after that. Before breaststrokers cheated, in 1928, David Armbruster conducted a study revealing that executing the recovery phase of the stroke above the water was quicker than doing it underwater. By the 1930s, competitive swimmers began applying this insight, combining breaststroke kick with what would later be recognized as the butterfly arm movement. This was cheating, but it also looked cool. So FINA said, let's keep it, but make it another stroke with different rules. The rule change took place in 1952, separating breaststroke and butterfly into distinct strokes, as the combination was not in line with the existing rules. So FINA said you cannot lift your arms above the surface of the water in breaststroke. So Furukawa swam completely underwater. FINA said you cannot do that either. So everyone started swimming right on the surface and pulling water as far back as they could. FINA wasn't happy with this either. That wasn't how breaststroke was supposed to look like. In the 1960s, they implemented a regulation ensuring swimmers' arms didn't extend beyond the hips. Except during the initial stroke, breaststrokers looked at the resistance of the surface of the water and all the splash and thought, I could hide my head there and officials will never know for sure if my head is above or underwater. By the 1980s, half of the breaststrokers were swimming with their head almost or completely underwater, breaking the rules and cheating in the process, winning Olympic golds, breaking world records, and getting away with it. FINA, again, had to change the rules in 1987, this time in favor of the cheaters. Now, everyone was allowed to cheat. Swimmers are allowed to submerge their heads during breaststroke. In the 2000s, breaststrokers again found a way to hide in the splash and cheat without getting caught. During the dive, the swimmer creates a splash. There are officials on every lane making sure breaststrokers don't do more than 1 dolphin, but from that angle, it is impossible to see what happens underwater due to the splash. Swimmers started doing 1 or many quick dolphin kicks right under the splash, and then another one which officials saw. Everyone got away with that, even breaststroke legend Kosuke Kitajima. More world records and gold medals were won by cheating. This all led to Van der Berg and company doing at least 3 dolphin kicks underwater for the whole world to see except for the officials. Van der Berg's admission sparked a controversy in the swimming world. He defended his actions by stating that such practices were common among top swimmers in breaststroke events, and that there was no adequate system in place to enforce the rule effectively during the races. This incident highlighted the need for better enforcement of the swimming rules and contributed to the ongoing discussion about the use of underwater video technology for judging swimming competitions. The swimmer's job is to find new ways to swim faster. Some people train harder. Some people perfect their techniques. Others try to do both. And just a few are innovators and or cheaters. And as a group of swimmers, breaststrokers are the ones that push the limit the most often. Adam Peaty is the only person that has been faster than 57 seconds. But that was 5 years ago. Since then, he has been struggling to get back to that mental and physical flow. And now, the new favorite is Xing Haiyan of China, who won all 3 breaststroke events last year in the World Championships. When Summer McIntosh broke 2 world records last year, she changed swimming forever. As children, serious swimmers swim 6 times a week or more. She swam 4 times. While many elite swimmers start training rigorously from ages 5 to 6, McIntosh was playing soccer, gymnastics, figure skating, horseback riding, and artistic swimming. During a physical education test called the beep test, McIntosh managed to scare the teacher so much that they had to stop the test. They were afraid she was going to collapse. During practice, everyone starts to warm up slowly and then build up speed and effort. She starts at 100% effort and finishes cooldowns at 100% effort. While everyone focused on starts and turns and the small details, she focused on moving through the water the fastest for the longest time. While everyone sets goals, she said those are just limiting beliefs. I mean, who would set a goal of breaking 2 world records at the age of 16, while the average top 10 best swimmers of the 400 individual medley kept getting higher and higher, with swimmers like Katinka Hosu, Mireia Belmonte, Hallie Flickinger, Leah Smith, and Melanie Margales, all of them around 30 years of age or older. McIntosh reversed that tendency completely. When she broke the world record, she could have been some of her competitors' daughter. At age 7, McIntosh eventually narrowed her focus to figure skating and swimming. She probably could have been a great figure skater, but her decision to choose swimming over figure skating came after an epiphany following a fall during a figure skating competition where she still won. She stopped figure skating the very next day. From the start, this tells us 2 things. She is highly competitive, and she wants to win on her own terms, not by someone else's standards. At the Olympics, she made it to the semifinals, and then to the finals. There, she just missed the podium by 1.5 seconds. A few months later, she became 2 times world champion. Then, she broke 2 world records, all before turning 17 years old. She is by far the favorite to win the 400 individual medley at the Olympics this year in Paris. 17-year-old David Popovic became a world record holder and a world champion twice. He then melted his favorite gold medal, the 200 freestyle. Just 1 year later, he stopped winning. In fact, he failed to medal in both of his favorite events, and his world record just got broken this year. On average, elite male swimmers peak at age 23. But did David peak too early? Let's find out. He melted the medal because he doesn't care too much about winning, money, or fame. He cares more about philosophical principles and making a positive impact on people. In 2022, during the Swimming World Championships, he won the 100 and the 200 freestyle, 2 of the favorite events in the swimming world. He became an instant legend. Everyone thought this kid was going to be the next swimming star, breaking many world records and winning gold medals for many years to come. Expectations were high for him in 2023, but he missed the podium entirely in the 100 and the 200 freestyle. So people are saying he already peaked, that he couldn't handle the pressure, that he is more focused on his studies than in swimming. Some are saying that he got too strong and his muscles are too heavy in the water. While making this video, I now understand that he uses swimming to learn more about his own mind. His coach and him are fans of the Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius. It is not a surprise that he chose to study philosophy as his major in college. As a Stoic, he wants to be more focused on the process rather than the outcome. He says he doesn't really care about winning. Winning is not an objective. Is just a bonus. On his most recent interview with Bret Hawk, he has so many golden nuggets of advice like that. When he broke Cesar Cielo's world record, his first post read, "Are you not entertained?"
Are you not entertained?
He knows competitive sports are a form of entertainment, something fans, coaches, athletes, and the parents of athletes often forget. He said, "It's important not to forget sport is supposed to be fun." I know he probably has two goals in the back of his head, two things that he hasn't accomplished yet that would make him one of the greatest freestyle swimmers of our time. He hasn't won an Olympic gold, and he hasn't broken the 200 freestyle world record. The 200 meters world record is 102 seconds exactly, 142 flat. It was set by Paul Biederman wearing high-tech supersuit. The 200 world record might take a stoic swimmer who doesn't care about winning to be able to break it. He approaches his races more like a thought experiment than a passionate athlete who wants to win. The muscles play their part, but the brain is the biggest instrument in a very good athlete. I hope he wins this year, but if he doesn't, I'll be entertained. This year, the 100 backstroke will be a little disappointing and yet very exciting. The USA has won this event more than half of the times it has been swam at the Olympics. Because of this rich history of backstroke winners, they love this event. From 1996 to 2016, the USA has been undefeated and have had 5 different champions. In Tokyo, during the final of the 100 backstroke, it was Murphy who was the favorite to win. He was the defending champion and the world record holder. But Rylov and Kolesnikov were having a fantastic meet. They had been pushing each other since the Russian Olympic trials in this event. That's how they managed to get first and second. This kind of intense domestic competition creates exceptional results. That is one of the reasons the USA has been so dominant in swimming. They attract talent from all over the world. Even Division II college swimming felt like international competitions because of all the foreigners. This ensures that US swimmers always have intense competition on almost every level of swimming. Given that the 2 best backstrokers were swimming in Russia, it was not a surprise to me that a third younger swimmer just broke the world junior record in this event. He is now ranked 5th in the world this year. Sadly, because politics is often interfering with sports, none of these 3 Russian backstrokers will be able to swim this year at the Olympics. But that doesn't mean the competition is not going to be fierce. We have the current world record holder, Thomas Chekon, the former record holder, Ryan Murphy, the world number ranked this year, Jan Yu Shu, and the dark horse, the Greek swimmer, Apostolos Christou. While Chekon's record seems far away from this year's times, I wouldn't bet against these swimmers to break it. Who do you think will win this event? What if I told you that there's a world record that even the world record holder doesn't care much about? A world record that, despite being officially recognized, holds little significance in the grand scheme of the sport. In the world of swimming, there's one record that embodies this paradox: the 50 breaststroke. It is the slowest type of swimming, and it is not even an Olympic event. Despite that, this world record tells an inspiring story about an athlete's tough road to success and the possibility of one of the greatest comebacks to Olympic gold. This world record has been broken twice by Lithuanian swimmer Rūta Meilutytė, once in 2013 and again in 2023. Her journey to these record-breaking performances is a story of triumph, struggle, and the realization that sometimes the pursuit of records can come at a great personal cost. At the young age of 15, Meliutite won the gold medal in the 100 breaststroke at the 2012 Summer Olympics in London. In 2013, to qualify for the semifinal, Yulia Efimova broke the 50 breaststroke world record. That record stood for less than 12 hours. That same day, during the semifinals, the 16-year-old Meliutite broke Efimova's record. That same year, as a 16-year-old, she broke the 100 breaststroke world record twice. Her two world records stood for 4 years until the American phenom Lily King came and broke them. We always tell swimmers in our swimming camps that swimming is the art of relaxing certain muscles while others contract. The same thing happens if you're too focused on the outcome. This is exactly what happened to Meliutite. She said she was only focused on outcomes and medals, and as a result, she started performing worse and worse. In 2017, Meliutite suffered from depression and an eating disorder. Meliutite was suspended from swimming for 2 years in July 2019 due to missing 3 doping tests within a 12-month period. As a result, she faced a 2-year suspension, which kept her out of competition. Meliutite took full responsibility for missing the tests and announced her retirement at age 22. After 2 years of retirement and 1 year back into her comeback, Meliutite won the 100 breaststroke at the World Championships. But she's not especially the favorite to win at the 2024 Olympics. Just last month, she underwent surgery on one of her toes and is expected to heal next month. But missing that much training in an Olympic year could be detrimental. Meliutite may not be the favorite, but given her story of not living up to expectations, that might work for her. Even Katie Ledecky, the most decorated swimmer in history, was afraid to swim against these 4 world record holders. In 2023, she decided it was better to focus on her favorite events, the 800 and the 1500, and told USA Swimming to send someone else instead. The 200 meters became the most difficult freestyle event to win. McIntosh, the young queen, at only 16 years of age, already had 2 world records and was up for the challenge in lane 5. McIntosh is a versatile swimmer, excelling in both freestyle and individual events. Titmus, the queen of middle distance and defending Olympic champion in this event, remained the favorite to win. She was in lane 4. O'Callaghan, the underdog queen, is Titmus' teammate, but O'Callaghan is more of a sprint swimmer. O'Callaghan had already won the 100 freestyle in 2022 and came in second in the 200. Titmus is more of a distance swimmer, winning the 400 freestyle, and this is where they meet, the 200. Hugay, the short course queen, held the world record in the 200 freestyle in a 25-meter pool. The 4 of them have held world records in different events or pool length, but none of them had managed to get close to the 200 freestyle world record of Federica Pellegrini from 2009. Back in the supersuit era. It is the perfect test of speed and endurance. As the race began, Titmus took an early lead, setting a blistering pace and putting the world record under threat. The other 3 girls were right behind, with the rest of the field fighting to keep up. Titmus knew she had the most endurance out of the 4 top swimmers, so she played a game of catch me if you can. She thought she was the only one that could handle the pain at the end, but she was wrong. The final 50 meters saw an incredible display of determination and raw speed, as O'Callaghan surged forward, closing the gap on Titmus with every stroke. O'Callaghan used more underwater dolphin kicks than her rivals on every turn to save up arm energy. What made O'Callaghan incredible, even in comparison to the best in the field, was her clutch kick in the last 50. That and her willingness to ignore the pain for 1 minute and 52 seconds was enough to win and break Federica Pellegrini's legendary world record. At the Australian Olympic Trials, Ariane Titmus set a new world record. Both Titmus and O'Callaghan swam faster than the previous world record. This race just got even harder to win. This was the craziest women's 100 backstroke in recent history. 3 world record holders, the 3 fastest backstroke swimmers in history, right next to each other. 3 recent world record holders were each carrying their struggles and expectations of 3 different nations on their shoulders. At the Olympics, Smith broke the Olympic record and qualified for the final in pole position, followed closely by Maas and then McKeown. You could feel the tension in the air. Smith said that pre-race anxiety was through the roof. Lanes 3, 4, and 5, the middle of the pool. You can see in lane 8, Gorbenko with a nose clip. The three swimmers in the middle do not have nose clips, and I think this little piece of equipment made the difference at the end. It was Maas who took the early lead. Smith was the one that stood underwater the longest, but she still managed to get more strokes than Maas or McKeown, but the other two catch water more efficiently. According to Google, she is the shortest out of the three, and although that is not necessarily the decisive factor of how fast you should move your arms, it does have an influence. The three of them know exactly how fast to move their arms in order to maximize their speed. But it is what happened underwater that concerns me. Smith is always the one that stays the longest on the water, and with a good reason. She has the best underwater out of the three, but McKeown has a backstroke lip. She can cover her nose with her upper lip like this. This ensures that no water gets up her nose. Smith is forced to blow bubbles out of her nose to keep water out. By letting air out, she also reduces the compression of her core, and her dolphin kicks are not as powerful as they could be. By using a nose clip, very little would have changed in her race, but it might have made the difference. Even with her super fast tempo, Smith couldn't catch up. McKeown won the first and the most meaningful round these three have had ever since. At the US Olympic trials, Regan Smith took back her world record. The biggest competition happens once every 4 years. An Olympic medal can change a swimmer's life, especially if they're from a nation that doesn't get many Olympic champions. Ruta Meilutytė from Lithuania, Joseph Schooling from Singapore, and Dmitry Balandin from Kazakhstan come to mind. These three swimmers became instant national heroes in their countries after they won an Olympic gold. So, when a swimming event is not part of the Olympic program, there tends to be fewer resources and swimmers' efforts put into it. But when they add a new event to the Olympic schedule, swimmers and coaches start caring more about it. The world record is always put in danger after this happens. But in the case of the 800 freestyle, the opposite has happened. Swimmers do not want to break this world record. Some of the most famous swimmers in history have had the privilege of being the 800-meter world record holders. Even though it wasn't an Olympic event, swimmers were still getting better at it. But 15 years ago, improvement stopped. In a big part, it was because Zhang Ling broke the world record by a huge margin. It's almost unimaginable for someone to swim this fast now. When you're part of the 8 best swimmers in the world in this event, the organ of the human body that makes the biggest difference is the brain. Technically, because you have your own lane, you should swim your own race regardless of the other swimmers around you. This ability of fast endurance swimming and the skill to sprint at the end is the best combination to win gold medals. This strategy works even if you're behind your competitor and you pass him during the race. Researchers Martin and Ferrand in 2009, in their study of long-distance runners, found that when another competitor overtook a runner during the race, it often led to a decrease in the past runner's motivation and performance. Knowing this, the swimmers with the best qualifying times, the ones in the middle of the pool, will often hold back a little bit throughout the race, just so that they can pass and demoralize their opponents at the end. In 2021, Paltrinieri didn't want to play those mind games and just gave it his all from start to finish. He had the slowest qualifying time of the final but managed to get the silver medal. Fink won by passing his closest rivals in the last 50 meters. Now we have 5 swimmers that can all swim faster than the Olympic winning time from 3 years ago. But will they swim faster? Or will they hold back as a strategy to win gold? Daniel Wiffen recently broke the 800 short course world record, the longest standing records in the books. And unless more than 2 people are in pace to break the world record, like it happened in 2009, I think the 800 freestyle world record is safe for now. Who do you think will win this race in Paris 2024? In 1908, Great Britain won this relay, the 4x200 freestyle, and they would say goodbye to this gold medal for more than 100 years. Immediately, the other powerhouses of swimming took over. Australasia, USA, Japan, the Soviet Union, and then Russia and Australia dominated this event. In 2021, after 113 years, Great Britain stood on top of the podium again. It is a nice full circle story, and I was ready to make a video about it until I found something very strange while doing research. I found this paper that claims to predict the 4x200 freestyle relay winner with 100% accuracy. If this paper is correct, we might know the winner of this relay before the Olympic Games even begin. The researchers used a type of model called random forest, which combines multiple decision trees to make predictions. By analyzing these variables, the model was able to predict the gold, silver, and bronze and non-medal winning teams with a high degree of accuracy. These results suggest that, in contrast to the unpredictable nature of many other sports, the outcomes of swimming competitions can be predicted with a high degree of accuracy using machine learning techniques, or at least for this relay. Although it was the first gold medal in this event since 1908, the British team had been steadily improving their performance in recent years. At the 2019 World Championships, they finished 5th. One of the most fascinating findings from this research paper was that the slowest swimmer in the relay tends to swim faster than their individual best times. This suggests that there's a powerful motivating effect that comes from being a part of a team, especially when you're surrounded by teammates who are faster than you. Just as this algorithm on this paper would have predicted, the slowest of the relay at the time, Matt Richards, swam faster than his individual best time, of course, taking into account that the relay start is faster than the normal start. Not everything can be predicted by mathematics though. Duncan Scott broke all predictions and swam more than 1 second faster than anyone did that day, faster than he had ever swam before. This also shows the importance of clutch mentality that some swimmers have. In this data, only Americans dropped their best times consistently in this relay. Even though we had the great Sarah Sjöström, the Olympic defending champion Ranomi Kromowidjojo, and the former world champion Jeanette Ottesen on the same heat, Kate Campbell was by far the favorite to win the 100 freestyle in 2016. She had just broken the world record a month before, and she qualified with the fastest time of the final. So it was no surprise that lane 4 was winning by the 50-meter mark. What was surprising though was that she was swimming under the world record pace and ahead of everyone by half a body length except for her sister in lane 2. What happened next was an important reminder of how the weight of expectations can crush a swimmer's performance. Those of you who have felt this, just by watching through the screen, you can still feel Campbell's muscles tensing to the point of not being able to move at will. Simone Manuel and Penny Oleksiak both passed her, and against all odds, they both touched the wall in the exact same time, breaking the Olympic record and making history. They both won 4 medals at those Olympics, but defending the most competitive title in swimming has proven to be almost impossible. The 100 freestyle is the most important and most prestigious swimming event. It is the oldest and the most contested. It has been a part of the Olympics 26 times. If you're the best at this event and your team is strong enough, you have a chance of winning 4 medals at the Olympic Games just by swimming this one event. This doesn't happen in any other event. This makes it the hardest event to win. If you do, you become a hero to the communities you belong to, and the weight of the expectations can crush you. Defending this title has proven almost impossible. I say almost because there has only been one woman in history to defend this 100 freestyle Olympic title, and it wasn't Fanny Durack, the first Olympic champion. Nor were the Dutch legends Kromowidjojo or Inge de Bruyne, nor the German champions Britta Steffen or Kristen Otto. The Chinese team won this event back-to-back, but with different swimmers, Xuan Yong and Li Jingwei. The only swimmer to defend this title has been the Australian swimmer Hall of Famer Dawn Fraser. The 100-meter freestyle record was hers for 15 years from 1956 to 1972. Last year, Molly O'Callaghan from Australia became the favorite by winning this 100 freestyle title at the World Championships in Fukuoka. At 19 years old, O'Callaghan has already made a name for herself in the swimming world, breaking records and winning multiple medals in international competitions. As we eagerly anticipate the 2024 Paris Olympics and the thrilling battle in the women's 100 freestyle, remember that the key success in swimming lies not only in skills and the talents of the swimmers, but also how they handle the pressure. If you're afraid of swimming butterfly because you might hit the lane lines or someone else or the wall, imagine swimming butterfly with your eyes closed. This story is the story of two swimmers who won gold in butterfly, broke world records, and made history using the same method, swimming butterfly without using their eyes. When Michael Phelps entered the water to try to win the 4th Olympic gold medal, his goggles gradually filled with water, leaving him completely blind. Almost no other swimmer would be able to win under those conditions, but Michael had already trained blindly in the pool. Michael Phelps' coach, Bob Bowman, was very strict with him. They had many fights. Once, during training, Bowman stepped on Phelps' goggles to break them, and he said, "You have to swim without seeing. You already know how many strokes you take from one side to the other. Swimming without seeing will help you feel the water better." For most of us swimmers, when goggles get foggy, it is enough reason to get uncomfortable and adjust them. Years ago, when pools didn't have many chemicals, there were more risks of infection. But it was also easier not to use goggles and simply open your eyes underwater. Seeing underwater is something humans can do, but with the invention of goggles, it is easier to see underwater, except when they fill with water and you go blind. Phelps trained with broken goggles and also with goggles painted with black Sharpie to get a better feel for the water. It's a method to sharpen your other senses and develop new skills in the water. But he also trained outside of the water, visualizing all the competitions and going through all the possible situations. So, when his goggles filled with water, he didn't panic. He had already gone through this in his training and his mind. He simply counted his strokes and felt the water. He still managed to win and break his own world record. Just a month later, there was another swimmer who won the same number of individual Olympic medals as Michael Phelps, 4, but he did it in the S11 category of the Paralympic Games, and Ahmed became blind at the age of 8. He learned to swim after going blind. In 2004, Ahmed won 2 bronze medals. He wasn't satisfied and came back 4 years later and won 4 gold medals, and he retired after 2012, winning 2 silvers and 1 bronze. After that, he decided to do a full Ironman, being the first blind person to complete it. Then he swam from Europe to Africa. He jumped out of a plane, among other things that most of us are afraid or too lazy to do, and he still holds the 100 butterfly world record in his category. He says he used the power of visualization to win his medals in 2008. While he had some free time, he repeated the scenario in his mind of what it would feel like to compete in Beijing in front of 17,000 people who wanted that Chinese competitor to win. And it's the same method Phelps used to win his medals. We humans are the only animals that can visualize without seeing. We have the power to create future scenarios on the screen of our minds, and we can use these mental movies to improve our current situation. This year, there's another person who has the possibility of winning 4 individual gold medals. One of his competitive advantages is that he has the same coach as Michael Phelps, Bob Bowman, and he will also have almost 17,000 people cheering for him. It is very rare to see Katie Ledecky get emotional like this on camera. In fact, I've only seen her get emotional in 2 races. One was her first Olympic gold in 2012, and the second was after the 1500 in Tokyo 2021 Olympics. I was very surprised when she told the reason why she got emotional, but after understanding the context, it made sense. She went to the US Olympic Center and they did an elite athlete health profile where they did a lot of tests and measurements. The third sentence of the 60-page report said, overall, the findings are remarkably unremarkable. If she doesn't have an extraordinary physical talent, then her technique must be the best in the world, right? How else would she win more individual world titles than Michael Phelps? Well, it doesn't look like her freestyle stroke is perfect either. She has a gallop freestyle, and she always breathes to one side, and her torso goes up and down slightly. Although it is a very popular style of freestyle among male swimmers, it is not necessarily considered the best, especially after Pan broke Popovich's record. Some people argue that the two-beat kick is not ideal for maximum speed, even in distance events. She does have physical talent and a very good stroke, but there's something else that matters more. The only other explanation is that she's the most mentally tough swimmer. She says that there are no secrets, just do the hard work. And she's not saying that about the race. Although swimming at that speed for that long, the race is very hard work and probably incredibly painful. But the real hard work is every day during training. It is very hard to imagine the physical and mental pain she endures during training, all seemingly with a great attitude. Before 2021, nobody had ever beaten Ledecky in an individual race at the Olympics, but her formidable opponent, Ariane Titmus, managed to do so in the 400 freestyle at the beginning of the Tokyo Olympic Games. For the first time in 5 years, Katie Ledecky felt the pressure of the world again, and her infallible strategy of getting the lead and keeping the lead didn't work. She had been undefeated at the Olympics since she was 15 years old, so when she won gold in the 1500, she got emotional, and she gave an interview afterwards where she explained why she got emotional. The ability to put a smile on someone else's face with a gold medal is what matters the most to her, and she wanted that power again. If Ledecky wins 4 more medals like she is expected to, she will become the female swimmer with the most Olympic medals in history, ahead of Jenny Thompson, Dara Torres, and Natalie Coughlin, giving her the undisputed title of the greatest female swimmer of all time. The 200 breaststroke is one of the most exciting races this summer, not only because we have 3 people that have broken this world record, Watanabe, Shin, and Stubley Cook, but also this might be the first time in history that someone could potentially win the 200 butterfly and the 200 breaststroke. But a recent scandal has made this event more controversial. This affects everyone in the sports: the fans, the coaches, the organizations, and worst of all, the swimmers. I have a story to share that might help some swimmers with the mental struggle of dealing with these types of situations. The movie Gattaca is about a future society where success is determined by genetic superiority. Vincent Friedman is an invalid born without genetic enhancements. One of the most poignant moments in the film is when Vincent competes against his genetically superior brother, Anton, in a swimming race. Despite being told that he would never be able to beat Anton due to his genetic limitations, they compete several times. One time, Vincent wins. When I used to swim competitively, this scene was the most impactful to my career. Even though some people were taller, more naturally gifted, that wasn't cheating. So it was just a new challenge for me. But when rumors got to me about possibly 1 or 2 of my competitors using performance-enhancing drugs, that was a harder struggle to deal with. This movie, specifically Vincent's mindset, is what served me the most in those cases. Don't look back. Give 100% of effort despite the things I could not control. If I could beat the people who had easier roads or were taking shortcuts, then I would have even more respect and admiration for myself. The modern Olympic Games were founded by Baron Pierre Coubertin, a French educator and historian, in 1894. He envisioned the Olympics as a way to promote international understanding, peace, and sportsmanship through friendly athletic competitions. 130 years later, it seems like we have deviated from that, but the spirit of Baron Pierre remains in many athletes. In his own words, the important thing in life is not to triumph, but the fight. The essential thing is not to have won, but to have fought well. If you're an athlete, fight for what is in your control and fight well. An athlete's loudest statements are their effort, their dedication, and their sportsmanship. Imagine it is the 31st of July of 2024. You made it to the final of the Olympics in the 100-meter freestyle, the most prestigious event in swimming. If you win this, you become an instant swimming legend. Imagine you're one of these guys.
Choose your character.
A world-class swimmer who has a real shot at winning and becoming the swimming king of these Olympics. Christoph Milak, Josh Liendo, Maxime Grousset, Matthew Richards, Jack Alexi, and Alessandro Miresi. The only problem is that you're not even a top 4 favorite to win this event. There are 4 current kings in this event. Kyle Chalmers, the winner of this event in 2016 and the runner-up of 2021, he's the kick king. No one can move their legs as fast as Chalmers in the last 50 meters. Then, the philosopher comes out. David Popovich, the stoic king. The guy who proved that Cesar Cielo's world record was just a mental barrier. His mind works in mysterious ways and he uses it as an advantage. And finally comes Pan Sanley, the efficiency king. The fastest man in history, probably the best swimming technique. When you put them together, they seem invincible, like the Avengers of swimming. Even though they all have an unrivaled part of their swim, the start, the kick, the mentality, or the beautiful technique, they all have weaknesses too. This is where you can beat them. In the early days of the Olympics, the winner was more dominant, winning by more than half a second, and in some cases by more than 2 seconds. But then swimming became very popular, and every swimmer wanted to become the fastest in the world. For many years, that meant winning the 100 freestyle until the introduction of the 50 freestyle as an Olympic event in 1988. But people still enjoyed the 100 freestyle more, as indicated by 47% of our audience in this poll. So the margins of the winners got smaller and smaller. Mark Spitz, for example, won by 0.43 of a second. Rowdy Gaines, Matt Biondi, and Alexander Popov in 92 by similar margins. Then in 97, Popov won again by only 7/100ths of a second. Van der Hoogenven won by 0.39 in 2000 and only 0.06 4 years later. Alain Bernard won by 0.11. Nathan Adrian by the smallest margin possible, 0.01. Kyle Chalmers by 0.22 and Caleb Dressel by 0.06. These 4 kings have proven to be very fast. To a certain degree, they are very consistent too. But in any given competition, they can swim this event twice and swim 0.1 to 0.6 slower from semifinals or relays to the finals where it matters most. That is less than the average margin of winners. This means that if you're in a final, you have a chance to win because their best times don't matter that much if they're not able to execute them on that day. Caleb Dressel did not qualify for this event, but will be swimming the 4x100 relay, the 100 butterfly, and the 50 free. With Dressel out, Jack Alexi is now top 4 favorite to win. Every 4 years, this question comes up. Why are there so many swimming events? The question can be divided into 3 parts. Are all those distances and relays necessary? Second, Phelps' medal count is overrated because it is easy to win an event once you've won a similar one. And third, and probably my favorite, is if the point of swimming is to go from point A to point B as fast as possible, then why are there other strokes besides front crawl? We have the 50, 100, 200, 400, 800, 1500, and the 10K. If you look at how our bodies use energy and how the different muscle fibers are used, you'll see that the 50, 100, and 200 are very different. That is why Ledecky was able to win 4 medals but wouldn't stand a chance in a 50 or 100. Why so many distance events? It also comes down to the sport's popularity and the ease of use of the venue. Of course, the more popular a sport is, the more incentive there is to have more medals in the same venue. One of the most exciting things about sports is the team aspects. Individual sports manage to capture this by doing relays or team events. We have 7 relays in total versus 6 land relays. So is Phelps overrated? Here's a list of athletes with the most medals in modern Olympics without Phelps. In more than 100 years of Olympics, swimmers hadn't even made it to the top 8. Phelps' genius is that he mastered the basics of the sport like no one else had, and for a very long time. Could he have done it in any other sport? Maybe gymnastics, but he didn't have the body type for that. He saw the opportunity and he took it. So why do we swim other strokes like backstroke, butterfly, and breaststroke if they are slower? I absolutely don't think the point of swimming is to swim as fast as possible from point A to point B. Otherwise, I would be more of a fin swimming fan than a swimming fan. I think the point of any Olympic sport is to perfect the movements within the rules of the sport. Unlike factories, the goal of sports is not efficiency and results. This brings us to the reason I made this video. The women's 200 butterfly. Butterfly is the coolest stroke of all. It is not the fastest or the oldest. It is the hardest to learn and to swim. It looks spectacular in slow motion. What makes this year's event special is that the 2 main favorites to win this event, Summer McIntosh and Regan Smith, are not even butterfly specialists. McIntosh is mainly a freestyler and an IMer. Smith is better known for her backstroke events. Last year, they had the fastest times in the world in this event. So, how can they be faster than swimmers who specialize in this event? Swimming, I believe, is not about how well you swim a certain stroke. It is about how well you dominate the 5 pillars of swimming. The swimmers who dominate those can in fact change strokes and still win at worldwide competitions. Having someone that dominates the pillars of swimming doesn't happen very often. But when it does, and you have a backstroker swimming against a freestyler for an Olympic gold in the 200 butterfly, it feels like the best superhero crossover in sports. There are land sports and there are water sports. Water sports have fewer medals in total compared to land sports. Aaron Peirsol had always wanted to explore perfection in the water. In 2004, he found it in the form of the 200 backstroke, his favorite swimming event. He won by more than 2 seconds, which is more than 2 body lengths, setting an Olympic record. But then he was disqualified by an official 1 minute after he touched the wall. After everyone on the stadium saw the replay on the big screen, the whole crowd started booing and whistling at the official. The official said that Peirsol spent too much time on the stomach during the flip turn. A very confusing rule says that the motion of the body should be 1 stroke on the stomach before the flip. Moving forward on your stomach is not allowed in backstroke races, except for the small time during the flip. Technically, everyone spends some time on their stomach, and it is up to the judges to determine how much is allowed. However, if there is doubt, it is understood by the judges that the benefit of the doubt should be given to the swimmer, since it really doesn't make a difference and the rule is not clear. In fact, spending too much on your stomach before you turn is a disadvantage. That is why everyone hated the decision made by the official. He won by such a huge margin that everyone was just happy to see him win, even his competitors. Peirsol said that moment was a big lesson for him. The same effort and the same performance could have resulted in a gold medal and an Olympic record, or no medal and no record. In those moments, he said he thought about what a medal meant for him. Obviously a lot. Up to that point, he had spent 4 years of intense training since his last Olympics in 2000, where he was the youngest of the US team except for Phelps. He got second in those Olympics. He never swam to get a gold medal anyway. He always did it because of the special connection he had with the water. In that moment, he decided that he would do it all over again. He would go through all the same things, even if it led to no medal at all. The decision to disqualify Peirsol was overruled. This would be the last time he would win gold at the Olympics in the 200 backstroke. Even though him and Lochte had the same personal best, a joint world record, it was Lochte who touched the wall first in Beijing 2008 Olympics. He says that Lochte gave him a real gift that day, a humility lesson nobody had taught him in 7 years, and that reminded him 4 years after Athens that 99% of his life was not defined by only 1%. Pearsall and Lochte exchanged the world record several times, but it was Pearsall who still has the fastest time in history with 1 minute 51 seconds and 92 hundredths. This year, the defending Olympic champion, Rylov, will not be able to compete because Russian athletes have been banned. That makes the two last world champions, Hubert Kors and Hugo Gonzalez, the two favorites to win this event. Will they be able to swim faster than Pearsall did 15 years later? At the Tokyo 2021 Olympics, two of the best female breaststroke swimmers in history swam the 200 breaststroke with very different techniques. Tatiana Smith starts breathing when her hands are finished pulling. This is perfect for her efficiency as the head and chest are not causing resistance with the water while she's pulling. Lily King breathes while she is pulling. This helps her pull herself with more power. While her chest is pointing up, her shoulders are in a better position to generate leverage in the water. This is just one example of many variations of breaststroke technique, but these are the most obvious and they seem to be working right there because they were ahead of everyone and even ahead of the world record. If you don't know or don't remember who wins, I want you to try to answer this. Who should you base your technique on? In other words, who should be your breaststroke role model? If you're like me, without knowing the winner, these questions make you a little uncomfortable. It would be easier to answer if you knew who wins and then decide, even though you're probably way slower than both of them and they might win by 1/100th of a second. Even subconsciously or emotionally, you would give more weight to the technique of the winner than the second place. This is one of the many reasons why we watch the Olympics. We want to have one role model for every event. Even though that is human nature, I'm here to tell you that there are downsides to that approach. We often have to tell our swimmers about the dangers and disadvantages of trying to swim like the winner of the Olympics. Before you watch the amazing swimming events in Paris 2024 and try to swim like them, you must watch this video. Swimming is a young sport. In almost every other sport, you can see the athletes' movements and try to imitate them. In swimming, spectators could only see half of the movements before the 1980s. Then the underwater cameras started being good enough for the broadcast, so spectators could see almost the entirety of the movements. This gave everyone a chance to imitate the best swimmers in the world. I was one of those people for many years. Even if I could see exactly how the best swimmers in the world were swimming, I couldn't swim like them. Seeing someone do something and not being able to replicate it is unsettling. It's the reason our channel has many views. We try to breach the knowledge gap between what you can see and what your body is capable of replicating right now. But not everyone accepts or even is aware that there is a knowledge gap. This psychological effect is called what you see is all there is, or Wasayati. Wasayati was introduced by Nobel Prize-winning economist and psychologist Daniel Kahneman. Wasayati refers to the human tendency to make judgments and decisions based solely on the information that is readily available or easily accessible to them, while failing to consider the information that is missing or not immediately apparent. This cognitive bias can lead to overconfidence in one's judgments. We have different body types and there's no perfect technique. That doesn't mean that every technique is equally as good, but sometimes you should base your technique not on the winner. Maybe you have different strength and your technique would be better if you swam like the second best swimmer. On this day, it was Tatiana Schoonmaker, now Tatiana Smith, whose technique resulted in the best time, and just now she realized it was also a world record. 2 years later, she won this title again. I ask you again, is this your breaststroke role model? A Russian teenager, Eugenia Shegunova, broke Smith's record by 1.4 seconds. She used a slightly different technique. Does that change your role model? As you watch the Olympics, let them inspire you. Even try to swim like them. Just be aware that the winner's technique might make you slower or might feel impossible without more training. So, try to swim like the second, third, fourth, or fifth best swimmer and see if it fits better with you or if you learn something. Do you think Tatiana Smith will defend her title? Or will Kate Douglas, Tess Sholton, or another contender take her throne? You might know Dean Boxall from his viral celebrations. Some even hate him for that. But what you might not know is that this celebration might be the key to his swimmer's success. Boxall's swimmers swam 10 out of the 25 total medals that Australia won in the Swimming World Championships last year. The 4 swimmers who broke the world record in the 4x200 freestyle were all coached by Boxall. Of course, the swimmers deserve the majority of the credit. They are the ones suffering the physical and psychological pain. But I don't think we talk enough about the great coaches that also make this possible. Some people think that coaches have hidden knowledge that they hoard like dragons. They think that this knowledge helps them mold world-class athletes. If only we had access to those magic workouts, those magical numbers that mathematically create Olympic champions, we too could create amazing swimmers. In our experience, dealing with and talking to other coaches around the world, we have noticed that the best coaches have 2 things in common. Unfortunately, the average coach doesn't have those 2 skills. I'm hoping this video can make a difference. It is true that some coaches have better knowledge, but none of them have all the knowledge. And this is where a big problem originates in the less successful coaches. We have noticed that the coaches here don't want to help other coaches. They see them as competition and as a threat. The best coaches we have met have all shared their most valuable lessons with us and other coaches for free, not expecting anything back. This creates a giant web of conversations where the best ideas are tried. Only the best ideas survive. These ideas are alive and can take up to 10 to 20 years to be formally studied and put into books. But only the people who share them and the ones humble enough to ask for help receive those ideas early. More important than the latest findings and ideas are the coaches who care deeply about their swimmers. Some might be strict and use methods of tough love, while others are more gentle and encouraging. But when they care, it shows. Like in Dean Boxall's celebration. In an interview, Ariane Titmus described her coach's method. She said that Boxall doesn't have just one style of coaching. He figures out what style of coaching works for each swimmer and adjusts his feedback accordingly. Other coaches who have worked with him say he brings life and passion to the pool deck. Emotional intelligence is more important than the latest training methods and hacks, but it is important to share both. If you're a swimmer, what do you think the best coaches have in common that others don't? The favorites to win this relay, again, are the Australians, but the Americans and Chinese will probably also be fast this year. Who are you cheering for? These are going to be the most exciting Olympics yet. It is the year of the comebacks. Milak, Dressel, Manuel, Petty, and McAvoy. If they win after taking a lot of time off, swimming will change forever. Swimming is one of the most time-demanding sports. For competitive swimmers, timing in the pool is used for recovery, conditioning, strengthening, rehab, technique work, and competition. Coaches are terrified of their swimmers staying away from the pool for even 2 or 3 days, let alone months. For athletes at the top, swimming is also their job. The pressure that comes from being and maintaining the number 1 spot makes swimmers burn out, get injured, and in many cases become depressed. Milak, Dressel, Manuel, Petty, and McAvoy all burned out recently. They all had different paths of healing and returning to the sport, but McAvoy's journey highlights something very different and interesting. He says he quit swimming after Tokyo because after years and years of hard work, he was getting slower and slower. Then he tried other activities and consulted different experts and came up with new ideas on how to swim faster based on other sports. He came back 12 months later with his new coach, Tim Blaine. They explored and tested those ideas on every detail in Cass' swimming pool with high-speed cameras and different measuring devices. One of the most important things he's doing is having autonomy over his workouts. He says he comes up with different ideas on how to swim fast, and the coaches come up with ways to test and measure those ideas to see how well they work. This approach clearly worked. He finally started swimming faster until eventually he became the world champion last year in the 50 free, winning by one of the biggest margins yet and becoming the 4th fastest swimmer in history. If he wins this year at the Olympics, the swimming community will surely change their ways. One of the things that make me angry is when coaches don't let swimmers have any autonomy. Swimmers often come to our swim camps and discover new ways to swim fast. Then they go back and their coaches deny them the opportunity to explore their newfound techniques or new knowledge. Even if the coach knows more, this should never happen. Having a sense of control can make the swimmer happier and more resilient in the long run. Many times, swimmers will just quit if they don't feel at least partially in control. Even if you think you know the best way to make a swimmer fast, different things work for each swimmer. Caleb Dressel is known for having weeks where he swims 60 kilometers. Cameron McAvoy has recently reduced his training volume to 3 kilometers a week. They are the 2 fastest swimmers this decade. Both of their workouts have a big emphasis on strength. It is also important to note that they all probably swam a lot during childhood. McAvoy swam 70 kilometers per week when he was 13 years old. For contrast, competitive triathletes of that age swim on average 10 kilometers per week. Here's a list of the fastest swimmers in history. We made a video about these two before the last Olympics. 4 of them have taken into account their mental well-being as part of their training strategy. If feelings weren't involved in swimming, it wouldn't be nearly as exciting to watch them at the Olympics. Luckily for us, swimmers have been more open about their feelings, letting us in and carrying us in their journey back to competitive swimming. That's what makes these Olympics the most exciting yet. Who would make you the happiest if they win the 50 freestyle? We're gonna watch the 2 best backstroke female swimmers in history go head-to-head in 2 different races. Last year, they raced in the 50, 100, and 200 backstroke. This year, they will race again in the biggest swimming stage, the Olympics. Sometimes backstroke is overlooked. When we do polls, it is often the least popular. But these 2 swimmers have used backstroke to win the Swimmer of the Year award in 2019 and 2023, a feat usually dominated by freestylers. Regan Smith and Kaylee McKeown have created a rivalry that is transcending their favorite stroke. Regan Smith has been a game changer since age 17. Back in 2019, she was the first person to swim under 2:04, the 200 backstroke, and the first person to swim under 58 seconds, the 100 backstroke. She played a crucial role in the U.S. women's 4x100 medley relay, which also set a world record with a time of 3:50.40. 3 world records by the age of 17. Breaking multiple world records is a rare and significant achievement. Just 17 years old, Smith was one of the youngest top-tier competitors, which made her achievements even more remarkable. Her potential for future success was a major talking point. She demonstrated the ability to compete at the highest level despite her young age. Her underwater dolphin kicks, which are crucial in backstroke events, were among the best in the world. Normally, people are afraid of burning out in the 200 backstroke, so they save a little bit of energy for the end. Smith goes all out. She has a very high tempo that not many swimmers can maintain. Smith's achievements inspire many young swimmers around the world. Her rise in the sport, combined with her humble and hardworking persona, made her a role model and a fresh face in competitive swimming. Kaylee McKeown won Female Swimmer of the Year in 2023. After working with her new coach, Michael Ball, for a year, McKeown returned to her top form and continued to improve throughout 2023. McKeown shattered all 3 backstroke world records in 2023. At Fukuoka World Championships, McKeown swept the backstroke events, winning the 50, the 100, and the 200, defeating her American rival in the process. She won Swimmer of the Year, outswimming the other possible female Swimmer of the Year, Regan Smith. No one in history had swum faster than 2:04 the 200 backstroke. These two have done it 4 times each. They swim the race very differently. Smith goes all out. McKeown builds up speed. Smith goes underwater longer than McKeown. McKeown moves her arms slower but pulls water harder. It is amazing to watch them swim. The only female swimmer who is better ranked than these two is Summer McIntosh. She is ranked first in 3 events and a total of 6 individual events in top 3. She's even ranked 5th in the 200 backstroke, but I doubt that she will swim this event with her already busy schedule. Although McIntosh is winning the rankings, the 2 backstrokers are very close behind, and there's always someone who seems to thrive under pressure and shines brighter at the Olympics. Who do you think will be the best female swimmer in Paris 2024? Imagine being so good that the organizers of the sport have to change the rules to make you slower. This is what happened to Ryan Lochte in 2015. When Michael Phelps started breaking the world record of the 200 IM in 2003, we didn't think anyone would beat him in this race. In 2004, Phelps still looked very dominant. Then in 2006, Ryan Lochte got very close, but Phelps kept getting faster and faster and breaking the world record. It wasn't until 2009, the year of the supersuits, that Lochte finally broke Michael Phelps' world record and became a world champion. Then the suits were banned, and we thought, that's it. This record will take decades to be broken again. The combination of Phelps and Lochte competing had produced extraordinary results, but without the supersuits, breaking this world record seemed far-fetched. 2 years later, Lochte touched the wall 0.16 seconds faster than Phelps, breaking the world record and leaving him in the top spot for 13 years and counting. No one has swum faster than these two that day. Lochte and Phelps continue to produce great spectacles in the pool, but in 2012, Lochte would lose against Phelps on the biggest stage, the Olympics, one more time. One day, he was tinkering in the water, as many great swimmers do, and discovered that he was faster underwater doing dolphin kicks face up than face down. This gave him the idea of kicking underwater on his back before doing freestyle. When on the back, swimmers often pop up too steep because the front kick causes them to push their legs deeper. Lochte had a very strong back kick, probably the strongest in the world. As a result, he was more balanced and faster on his back than on his stomach. The times he tried this new technique in 2015 were impressive to watch, not only because he was doing something different, but because he was faster than everyone. FINA didn't like this. It looked too much like backstroke when everybody was swimming freestyle in the last leg of the IM, so they said that it was illegal. The swimmer must be on his stomach on the freestyle leg. Despite it being called freestyle, it's not what it sounds, at least not in the IM. The rule is so confusing and unnecessary that in 2022, after watching a replay, the officials decided to disqualify Leon Marchand. Then, after re-watching the replay, they de-disqualified him? Even though you can do this Lochte turn legally in freestyle events, not everyone is powerful enough on their back kick to swim as fast as Lochte. Lochte still holds the world record that he broke without a supersuit or the Lochte turn. Now we're left with a rule that was created against one specific swimmer and just makes the life of officials and swimmers a bit harder. Lochte hasn't announced his retirement yet, so maybe they are still afraid of him coming back and doing a couple of dolphin kicks on his back. The last time Lochte and Phelps swam together, the amazing Japanese swimmer Kosuke Hajino got second place behind Phelps with a time of 1:56.61. We haven't even started the Olympics, and this season, the 7th fastest swimmer is faster than Hagino's silver medal winning time. That means this year is going to be fast. But do you think someone will break Ryan Lochte's world record? This comment perfectly illustrates what this video talks about. Toby got DQ'd, and then they had to use the rulebook to overturn it. When Caleb Dressel saw the scoreboard, he realized something that made him raise the arm of his competitor, Krzysztof Milak, to celebrate him. I can explain what he saw with this graph. The 100 butterfly has been one of the most contested and beautiful events in Olympic history. Some of the most famous swimmers have won gold in this event. But before the supersuits, breaking 50 seconds seemed impossible. Ian Crocker had been the closest one with a very fast time of 50.40, which would have won a medal on every Olympics and World Championships since 2008 to 2023. The great rivalry between Kavik and Phelps would produce uproar in the Olympics of 2008. Some say Kavik actually won because he touched the wall first. That's debatable. Either way, they didn't break the 50-second barrier, nor were they faster than Crocker's world record. But Kavik was getting extremely close to breaking the 50-second barrier when he broke the world record in 50.01 seconds. The World Championships in Rome took place exactly when the Kavik versus Phelps fire was the hottest. Result, they would both break the 50-second barrier. Won again, and his celebration created chaos. He celebrated with his swimsuit, putting more fuel to the fire of the controversy of the supersuits. We main community had to decide between more and more expensive supersuits and would make the sport even less accessible, or halt progress and technology a little bit but make the sport a little fairer. Thankfully, especially for swimming parents, the swimsuits were banned. After the supersuit era, times got slower. They were still very fast times. Phelps won twice more. In 2012, Chad Leclos tied for second place. A year later, Leclos won gold. 2015, he won again, joining the selected few who had swum 50 point something, the fastest time ever since 2009. Just in 2017, it finally happened. Someone would swim below the 50-second barrier without a supersuit. Caleb Dressel looked dominant from start to finish. Years later, in 2019, Dressel would get even faster and extend the gap between him and the second place. At the same time, Milak would look even more dominant, but in the 200 butterfly. He even broke the 10-year-old Michael Phelps world record by 0.78. By the time the Olympics of 2020 came around, Dressel was the clear favorite to win the 100 butterfly. Even prime Phelps and Kavik would struggle to swim faster than Dressel. So it was a surprise when Milak decided to swim this event. Dressel won with a new world record. No surprise there. But then he saw the board and there was another 49 point something besides him. Sure, he had won, but that was the second Olympic silver in history. Of the greatest swimmers in history have very different personalities, and this makes their celebrations very different. But if you think back to the original Olympic values, which celebration would you like to see more of? A celebration of swimsuit brands or a celebration of sportsmanship? Last year, we didn't see Milak or Dressel in the 100 fly, but these three were fast. Maxime Grousset getting very close to that 50-second barrier. Do you think they have a chance at winning, or will Milak and Dressel make a historic comeback? Josh Liendo got very close to that 50-second barrier, and even Ponti qualified ahead of Dressel with 50.16. I discovered two very exciting things that make the 200 IM one of the top 3 best events to watch at the Olympics. The first fact is that 7 swimmers are already faster this season than the gold medalist of the Tokyo 2021 Olympics. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's another event that we've talked about where this happens. This fact is actually crazy. And we haven't even started the Olympics yet. No country has been able to win this event more than twice in all Olympic history. But this year, 3 countries have a chance of achieving the 3 victories. The United States hasn't won this event since '84, but now they have a very good chance with Alex Walsh and Kate Douglas. Shane Gould and Stephanie Rice were the Australian winners, and now they have the current ranked number 1, Kylie McKeown. The only person to defend the title in the entire Olympic history is the Ukrainian swimmer Yana Kloshkova. China has won this event twice with Lin Li and Yi Sheyan. The world record holder and the winner of the 2016 Olympics is the Iron Lady Katinka Hosh. Only 5 swimmers in history have been able to break the 2-minute and 7-second barrier, and Katinka is the only one who have done it 3 times, but Kylie McKeown just broke that barrier for the 2nd time. Summer McIntosh might join that club very soon. The individual medley events are where we can find the lowest average height of all swimming events. This gives us a clue that talent is not the only thing required here, but also extraordinary skills in the basics of swimming and hard work. The medley races are where you recruit the most number of functions on your muscles and joints. And that's the second fact I've discovered. If you win the 400 IM, you're very likely to win the 200 IM. If you don't believe me, let's see who won these 2 events in '96, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, and 2021. The winner of the 400 IM has also won the 200 IM in the last 7 editions of the Olympics. If this trend continues, it is likely that Summer McIntosh has the best chance at winning both events. Progress in swimming, both globally and individually, is never linear. It has a logarithmic trend that is not perfect, but considering that 7 swimmers this season are already faster than the Olympic champion, we can predict that the graph is about to drop. With a time of 2:06, you're already among the top 5 swimmers in history, but it is possible that this year we will see the first 2:05 and maybe the 3rd victory for one country. Who do you think will win the medals? There's a short list of the most dominant athletes in the history of the Olympics, the ones who have won gold 3 Olympics in a row in an individual event. But there's an even shorter list of athletes who have won 4 times. Maheen wants to surpass his idol, Michael Phelps, this year by winning 5 times in a row, something no other athlete has ever done in an individual event. That brings us to the other possible contender to join this short list. Earlier this year, McIntosh and Ledecky made the news. And I'm not talking about the swimming news. I'm talking about the mainstream news. That almost never happens in swimming if it's not the Olympics. But Ledecky had been undefeated for 13 years and McIntosh ended that streak. In 2012, she swam at the Olympics for the first time and she won the 800 freestyle. After that, every time we saw her swim this event, she would win by a lot. Even on her bad days, she was ahead of everyone. Her dominance got to a point where she owned the 30 fastest times in the history of this event. If we look at her graph, we can see that she's not getting slower. There was a time where she was getting slower, but then she changed coaches and teammates, which is an important factor. We can see that when Ledecky performs her best is in very important international competitions. This isn't luck or just a psychological effect. Generally, competitive swimming coaches will gradually increase intensity and volume of the workouts, and just before an important swim meet, they will sharply reduce volume and increase resting times. This creates many changes in the swimmer's body and increases the level of performance significantly. This is important to know because Ledecky is capable of swimming much faster times than earlier this year. The reason it made the news is that McIntosh is closing the gap between Ledecky and everyone else. I think for us, the important news is not that whether she was beaten in the less important competition, but whether she will win this event 4 times in a row at the Olympics. Although Maheen might become the first person to 5-peat an Olympic gold in an individual event, he is 41 years old already. So it is likely that he won't go for the 6th. Ledecky is only 27 and already said that she wants to swim at the next Olympics and maybe beyond. Do you think she will 4-peat, maybe 5-peat, or even 6-peat? The first time the 4x100 mixed medley relay was swam at the Olympics, the USA put Dressel on the last leg. This meant that he was swimming against 7 female swimmers, as every other country chose to put females on the last leg. Anna Hopkins was about 17 meters ahead of Dressel when he jumped in. Every other female swimmer was in between them. It was very exciting to watch him catching up, but 17 meters was too much. He only caught swimmers who were ahead by 6 to 8 meters. They got 5th. A lot of people got angry, thinking USA made a huge mathematical mistake. But did they? I thought this was going to be an easy question to answer. There are 6 possible combinations in this relay, as 2 swimmers of each gender must swim 1/4 of the relay. On paper, the selection is easy. You select the best swimmer of each gender, and of each stroke, you add up the 6 combinations, and whatever is the fastest, you go with that. We immediately run into impossible combinations, as Dressel was both the fastest freestyle and butterfly. He isn't allowed to swim both, so this combination is out the window. Then you have the choice of putting Dressel in butterfly or in freestyle. And in the case of female, female, male, male, you have 2 possible combinations. This would produce the 2 slowest possible combinations, and we're left with 5 very similar variations. The fastest being female, male, male, female, by a little bit. This is the combination Great Britain used because it made much more sense for them. But the USA went the opposite, male, female, female, male. On paper, the USA with this combination should have been faster than Great Britain with the best combination, a full second faster. But Great Britain had some aces up their sleeve. There's also another problem with that approach of just looking at the math. Swimmers are no robots. They don't produce their best times each time they swim. This was Dressel's 3rd event of the night. It actually would have made more sense to put Apple on the last leg, but that wouldn't have made a huge difference either. It was actually the 2 USA girls that added time, even with the relay start, which should be faster. Even with the fastest combination on paper, they would have gotten 5th with that time. The difference with Great Britain comes down to human performance. Petey swam an excellent breaststroke, but it was James Guy who really did an exceptional job. He didn't even swim the 100 butterfly individual event to focus on this relay. Anna Hopkins added an almost equally impressive performance to the relay. At the end of the day, the USA had 96 possible combinations of relay orders, a little bit less if you exclude the impossible ones. 7 of them looked all great on paper. They went with the one that had the biggest chance of an amazing spectacle. If the stars had aligned properly, we could have seen Dressel chase 7 of the fastest female swimmers in the most exciting race of the Olympics ever. The average difference between males and females is around 6 seconds on every 100, backstroke, breaststroke, butterfly, or freestyle. Sometimes the swimming stars of each gender make this difference smaller or bigger. But as always, the biggest difference is going to come down to how well each swimmer can perform that day. According to Swimming Stats, the USA will put a male, Jack Alexey, in freestyle to swim against 7 female swimmers. On this combination, they are ranked 1st. So we might get that epic race we didn't get in Tokyo. The 50 freestyle is the most contested and unpredictable race at the Olympics. Researchers found that if swimmers in this one study took even 1 breath, they would lose 0.15 seconds in the 50 meters. This means that by taking 1 breath, you might lose the race. The 50 freestyle is full of interesting facts, and I couldn't pick just one story to focus on. So here are the top 10 facts about this event. We've only had 9 Olympic champions in the history of this event. The only one who has defended this title has been Inge de Bruin. Tara Torres won an Olympic medal before this was even an Olympic event. Then, 25 years later, at 41 years of age, she won silver in 2008. The current world record holder is Sarah Sjöström. She won silver in Tokyo 2021. She has won gold at 3 world championships since then. Not only that, but she broke the world record last year just minutes after swimming the 50 butterfly. This makes her the favorite to win this summer. Libet Trickett was the first person to swim below 24 seconds. Only 15 people in history have swum the 50 freestyle below 24 seconds. Only 6 people have done it twice or more. The one and only female swimmer to have swum this event in less than 24 seconds 35 times has been Sarah Sjöström, 6 times under 24 seconds this year alone. Sarah Sjöström has been winning medals at the World Championships since 2009. What is even more unusual about her is that she has won medals from 5 different individual events. The 50 freestyle is the shortest event by far because there are no 50s of other strokes at the Olympics. The 50 freestyle is mainly anaerobic, which means you don't need a lot of oxygen to produce the energy necessary to finish the 50 freestyle. Pernille Bloom was ranked 10th before the Olympics of Rio 2016, so it was a real surprise even for her when she touched the wall first. In Tokyo 2021, Emma McKeon became the Olympic champion of this event. This was one of her 7 medals at those Olympics. This is the last individual female swimming event at the Olympics of Paris 2024. We will have a new winner because the defending Olympic champion, Emma McKeon, failed to qualify for this event. These are the top best-ranked female swimmers in the 50 freestyle before the Olympics. Do you think one of these swimmers will win? Imagine winning an Olympic gold medal in the 400 freestyle and getting ready to swim your favorite event, the one you hold a world record in, the 1500. Then suddenly getting told that your gold medal will be taken away and that you're not allowed to swim the 1500 just before the final. All of this because of a paperwork error. This is what happened to Rick DeMont at the 1972 Munich Olympics. DeMont had many allergies as a kid and a severe case of asthma. The doctor recommended swimming and some medication. He had a gift for swimming. It all came naturally to him. He qualified to the Olympics at the age of 16. He had broken the 1500 world record, so he was the favorite to win this event. He had been taking asthma medications since he was a very young child, and he reported it to the authorities. The USOC received that documentation, but didn't check the paperwork and didn't pass it to the Olympic Committee. As a result, DeMont was disqualified, got taken the 400 Olympic gold medal away, and was not allowed to swim the 1500 freestyle. The Olympic Committee realized what had happened a few months later and offered to give the medal back if the USOC admitted to making a mistake. They did not. DeMont sued the USOC years later, and it was only during the early 2000s that they admitted that they made a mistake and apologized. DeMont had a hard time dealing with all this, but he still managed to win the 400 freestyle at the World Championships the next year after those Olympics. He says he went through years of depression and hardship. Psychological help wasn't as prevalent back then. But then, this one thing changed that helped him fall in love with swimming again and gave him a new sense of purpose. DeMont and his brother started teaching little kids swimming skills. Then, he went on to become an assistant and eventually head coach of Arizona University. He was inducted to the International Swimming Hall of Fame in 1990. This isn't the first time we've talked about a swimmer getting back on their feet after teaching swimming to little kids. Competitors, organizers, and politics can ruin swimming careers. Even if you have one of the best swimming careers, it doesn't last forever. When it is over, it can lead to depression or meaning crisis. Many swimmers have found that teaching their skills to others and contributing positively that way helps getting a sense of purpose back. The last male event is the 1500 freestyle. It's always exciting to watch, but in Tokyo it was triply exciting as Fink, Wellbrook, and Romanchuk were battling the whole way. This year we have the 3 of them back, plus Whiffen, who would have won by 5 seconds in Tokyo with the time he went earlier this year. And we shouldn't forget about the Italian distance legend, Gregorio Paltrinieri. Who do you think will win this event this summer? The most exciting way to find out which country has the fastest swimmers in the world is during the medley relays at the Olympics. The Olympics represent the pinnacle of competitive swimming, where the fastest swimmers from all around the world showcase their talents. Countries pour significant resources into developing elite athletes, employing top-tier coaching, state-of-the-art facilities, and rigorous training programs. This quest for Olympic glory is not just about national pride, but also about demonstrating the effectiveness of their sports development program. Success in swimming, like in many other sports, is a reflection of the strategic investments made by a country in nurturing talent from a young age. Money, talent, and population size play crucial roles in creating a pool of fast swimmers. Wealthier nations can afford better facilities, more experienced coaches, and advanced sports science support, giving their athletes a competitive edge. Countries with large populations have bigger talent pool to draw from, increasing the likelihood of discovering and developing world-class swimmers. However, it's not just about size and wealth. Effective talent identification and development programs can elevate smaller and less wealthy countries to the top of the podium. There are 111 medals in the sport of swimming. At the Tokyo 2021 Olympics, only 21 countries won at least one medal, and just 12 of them took home gold. The USA led the gold medal count, followed by Australia. But is this a fair comparison? Let's explore other ways to look at it. Let's look at it medals per capita for each country in 2021. Australia leads by far, followed by Hungary and Hong Kong. China ranks last among the medal winners. If we consider medals per GDP per capita, the ranking changes. Here, countries with lower GDP per capita but strong Olympic performance rise to the top. China leads, followed by the USA and Russia. Denmark is ranked last. Now let's look at the medals by height. Here are the countries that won at least one medal at the Tokyo Olympics, sorted by average height from shortest to tallest, along with their total medal count. These numbers are interesting, but medals per height, GDP per capita, or population aren't the most exciting ways to determine which country has the fastest swimmers. The final medal table is cool, but nothing beats the excitement of the medley relays. This is where the best swimmers on each stroke come together to battle it out in the pool. The most thrilling men's medley relay was in the short course in 2022. The USA started strong with Ryan Murphy on backstroke. Italy and Australia were close behind. It all came down to the last 100 meters. In freestyle, Alessandro Miresi took an early lead, and it seemed right there that Italy would win. But Kyle Chalmers and Karen Smith made an incredible comeback, touching the wall simultaneously and setting a joint world record. That's crazy. In the last Olympics, Great Britain and the USA exchanged leads. Caleb Dressel swam the fastest butterfly split in history, giving Apple the chance to finish the relay leading all the way. On the women's side, the USA and Australia had an epic battle, with Australia winning by a touch. However, at last year's World Championships, the USA looked dominant, winning by a body length. This year, they're still looking strong and are the favorites to win. Who do you think will win the medley relays? The swimming marathon at the Olympics is a grueling test of endurance, strategy, and adaptability in open water. Athletes face a 10-kilometer course in a natural body of water, battling not just each other, but also the elements for nearly 2 hours. The race begins with a mass start, often with dozens of swimmers battling for position. Unlike pool swimming, there are no lanes to separate competitors. Physical contact is common and sometimes strategic as swimmers fight for the best lines through the course. Swimmers must navigate a series of boards that mark the course. Often, swimming, the ability to sight landmarks and stay on course is crucial. Nutrition plays a key role, with swimmers taking fluids from feeding stations along the course. Maintaining proper hydration and energy levels is vital for sustaining performance over a long distance. The final kilometers often see dramatic shifts in positioning as swimmers make their moves for the medals. The race typically culminates in an intense sprint to a finish pad, where swimmers must touch the plate to stop their time. The men's marathon swimming has been held at 4 Olympic Games since the introduction in 2008. No one has defended the title of Olympic champion yet. The first winner of this event was Maarten van der Weijden. The second champion was in 2012. In 2016, it was Ferry Venterman from the Netherlands. If you think these races are less exciting than pool races, look at how Venterman won in 2016. At the Tokyo Olympics, Florian Wellbrock from Germany won with the largest victory in the Olympic 10K swimming history. He also won a bronze medal at those Olympics in the 1500 in the pool. The Netherlands is the only country to have won this event twice, though with different swimmers. Larisa Ilchenko from Russia won in 2008. She is an 8-time world champion in open water swimming in 5 and 10K events. In 2012, it was Iva Ryskov from Hungary who won this event. And back in 2003, she won 3 silver medals at the World Championships. Sharon van Rouwendaal from the Netherlands won in 2016 with a margin of 17 seconds. And the winner of the marathon swim in Tokyo was Ana Marcela Cunha. She is considered one of the best, if not the best, open water swimmers in history, having obtained 17 medals at the World Championships. This year, the marathon is set to take place in the River Seine. Many of the stars we saw in Tokyo will be back this year. However, significant concerns about the water quality have arisen, casting uncertainty over the event. Who do you think will win this event? If you made it this far, you probably already have your favorite swimmers to watch at the Olympics. On the women's side, most people are excited to see what Summer McIntosh can do. But also, the battle between USA and Australia is going to be decided by Kaylee McKeown versus Regan Smith, Titmus versus Ledecky, and of course, the relays. On the men's side, Leon Marchand is probably the most anticipated swimmer because how versatile he is and because he will be in his home country. But the most anticipated races on the men's side will surely be the 100 freestyle and maybe the 100 breaststroke. I would put the 50 freestyle on third place because we have Dressel, McAvoy, and the other 7 swimmers are also very close. If you enjoyed this video, please send it to someone who doesn't know that much about swimming but wants to learn more to watch the Olympics this year. See you soon. Swim fast.